After the failure of the Roanoke colony, the English did not try to start another settlement for 17 years. Queen Elizabeth's chief minister, Sir Robert Cecil, had noticed her declining health, and in 1601 he began a secret correspondence with James I, who was seen as the most legitimate heir. He drafted a proclamation of accession, and upon Elizabeth's death in 1603, James became King of Scotland, England and Ireland. The colony had a council of 13 men, with one president, who would report to Cecil. These men were appointed by the Royal Council for Virginia, but their names would not be revealed until they set foot in America. Captain Christopher Newport was chosen by the Royal Council to be the overall military commander. He lost his right arm fighting in the West Indies. He was not expected to stay forever, and his role was to get the colonists there, do some scouting, and in return he was allowed to keep any discoveries of rare metals he made for himself. John Smith was another important man in the Jamestown story. Soldier and explorer, you get the idea. He fought many battles, and while in Transylvania was said to have killed 3 Turkish soldiers single-handedly. As a reward, the King of Poland gave him a coat of arms and the title of captain. On the 10th of December 1606, 10 days before they were to set sail, the leaders of the expedition were summoned to the Royal Council and given their final orders. Newport was given a box which had the list of who was to be part of the local council, and strictly reminded it was only to be opened once they had arrived in America. The expedition left London on the 20th of December, but got off to a rocky start. They anchored at a place called the Downs near Dover to wait for a favourable wind, but they ended up having to wait for 6 weeks, all the while using their much needed supplies. During this time, the colonists argued with each other and were frustrated over having to wait so long in cramped conditions. The Susan Constant, their main flagship, was only 100 feet long and 20 feet wide, much more suited to carrying cargo than lots of people. On the 23rd of March, the colonists arrived at Dominica. They anchored nearby shore to try and make contact with the natives. The natives were very wary, but once they saw it was not a Spanish ship, they approached in canoes offering various fruits, potatoes, plantains, tobacco and other foods. Considering the colonists had only eaten dried biscuits and salted meat for the past month, they were extremely grateful and offered up knives and hatchets in exchange. On the 10th of April, the fleet left the West Indies and headed north towards Florida. Captain Newport anchored in the bay and assembled a 30-man landing party to scout out their surroundings. Searched all day but found nothing of note. Upon nightfall they were returning to the beach when they spotted some natives stalking them. Quote, "There came the savages, creeping upon all fours from the hills like bears, with their bows in their mouths, and charged us very desperately." The English let off a volley of gunfire, and once the natives had used all their arrows, they retreated. The colonists also returned to their boats, but with 2 wounded men. Another small expedition was launched the next day. They ran into a group of friendly natives who took them back to their village named Kakutan. While there, the settlers mingled with the natives, ate some corn with them, smoked some tobacco out of a large clay pipe, and the festivities were ended with a ceremonial dance, and the English returned to their boats. The first few days at Jamestown were quite harsh. The colonists were low on food, and most people had to simply sleep under trees. The labour was gruelling, as some trees did have to be cleared. Construction on dwellings began, and the colony had a few visits from natives belonging to the Paspahegh tribe, who lived nearby. The Paspahegh chief visited Jamestown with 100 of his warriors, who guarded him closely. The chief told the English to lay down their weapons, but they refused. At the same time, an Indian was arguing with the colonists over a stolen hatchet. The natives and the English almost ended up fighting, and this event really soured the visit. While searching for metals on another expedition, they found the Weyanock people, who told the colonists they were hostile to the Paspahegh tribe. They offered a meal back at their village, but Newport declined, clearly determined not to go back home empty-handed. The Weyanock natives were curious, however, and followed the colonists up the river. Once again they ran into the friendly natives and agreed to check out their village named Arohatek. Whilst there, the chief informed them of the now legendary king who ruled over the surrounding area, called Powhatan. Upon hearing the information, the colonists must have known that they were now involved in a giant political spiderweb of tribes, which they would now have to navigate carefully in order to survive. Because Powhatan was a great king, who the settlers wrote very respectfully about. This was the beginning of the Jamestown story. Thanks for watching guys, and if you want more, don't forget to subscribe.